Ethan Corwin had always felt a quiet emptiness in his life. The docks of Aurora Prime were busy with ships coming and going, cargo being loaded, and travelers hurrying to their destinations. Yet, among all this activity, Ethan moved like a shadow, unnoticed by almost everyone. He worked as a dock supervisor, making sure ships arrived safely and cargo was handled properly. He liked the order of it, the steady routine, and the distant hum of the ocean beyond the docks. But loneliness was his constant companion. Most evenings, after his shift ended, he would sit on the edge of the pier and watch the sun sink below the horizon, painting the water in shades of gold and violet. He would imagine the lives of the travelers, their adventures, and wonder if he would ever have a story of his own. One rainy night, as the wind whipped through the tall cranes and the lights reflected on the wet docks, Ethan noticed something unusual. A small, sleek ship had docked on a side pier, one he didn't recognize. Its hull shimmered faintly under the rain, unlike the commercial cargo ships he was used to seeing. It looked almost delicate. Curiosity pushed him forward. He grabbed a flashlight and a raincoat and made his way to the pier. The closer he got, the more he realized the ship seemed abandoned. The hatch was slightly open, swaying gently in the rain. Then he saw her. A figure emerged, moving with slow, careful steps. She was humanoid but not human. Her skin shimmered in soft shades of silver and blue, reflecting the port lights. Her hair, or what he assumed was hair, flowed in strands that seemed almost liquid, catching the light with every movement. She was dressed in what appeared to be ceremonial attire, a flowing gown that glowed faintly even in the dim light. Ethan froze. He had seen aliens before, visiting the colony from distant systems, but never anyone like this. There was a calm dignity in her posture, but also fear. She looked around as if expecting someone who wasn't there. "Hello," Ethan said carefully, keeping his voice low. She didn't answer. She tilted her head slightly, and a soft hum echoed in his mind. It wasn't words, but feelings, confusion, fear, loneliness. Ethan realized she was trying to communicate, but not in a language he could understand. He took a cautious step closer. I'm Ethan. You're safe here." The alien's large eyes studied him. They seemed to hold intelligence, curiosity, and sorrow all at once. Slowly, she reached out a hand, pointing toward the ship. Ethan understood. She was stranded, abandoned. He moved closer, trying not to frighten her. Using the universal translator device he always carried for emergencies, he activated it and spoke slowly. "You're safe. I can help you. Can you understand me?" She blinked, and the hum in his mind shifted, this time more like a question. "Why?" Ethan hesitated. "Why am I helping you?" He didn't know, but something inside him, something human, urged him to protect her. He gestured to the ship and then to himself, pointing to the dock, the colony, and finally, to the nearby safe house he managed for travelers. She nodded slightly, a hesitant agreement. He guided her down the pier, careful to avoid the puddles and loose cables. As they walked, Ethan noticed how the colony looked through her eyes, like a strange, glowing maze of colors and motion. He felt a pang of empathy. She had arrived here alone, in a world she didn't understand, with no one to help her. By the time they reached his apartment near the docks, the rain had stopped. The alien, whom he had not yet named, watched the city lights with quiet fascination. Ethan offered her a seat in some warm water. She touched it with delicate fingers, and the liquid shimmered slightly, reflecting her curiosity. They sat in silence for a moment. Ethan tried again with the translator. "Do you have a name?" The alien tilted her head, then whispered a single word in her language. The translator hummed, but no human word came out. Ethan smiled gently. "I'll call you Lyra if that's okay. It suits you." Lyra looked at him. Something passed between them, a silent acknowledgement of trust. She had no one else, and he had never felt such a strong pull to protect someone. Then came the complication. Ethan remembered the colony laws about stranded aliens. There was a rare clause. meant for situations like this, allowing a human to perform a legal emergency marriage to protect a vulnerable extraterrestrial from danger or exploitation. Most humans never used it. But looking at Lyra, alone and abandoned, Ethan realized this was the only way to ensure her safety. He took a deep breath. Lyra, there's a law here. It's unusual, but it allows me to marry you to protect you legally. Just so no one can take you away or harm you while the authorities figure things out. Lyra looked at him, her eyes wide. She didn't understand the details of human law, but she felt the meaning behind his words. Protection, safety, trust. Do you trust me? Ethan asked quietly. After a long pause, Lyra nodded. It was subtle but enough. Ethan smiled, relief washing over him. Then we will do this. Now. The ceremony was simple. Ethan and Lyra stood at the edge of his apartment's small balcony overlooking the shimmering docks. A human officiant, called in for the emergency procedure, read the words slowly. Ethan took Lyra's hands, feeling the faint warmth of her touch. When it was done, they were legally married. No celebration, no fanfare, just two beings standing together against the uncertainty of the universe. Lyra looked at him, her expression a mix of relief and curiosity. Ethan realized then that life would never be the same. He had been lonely, but that loneliness was over. Over the next few hours, Ethan helped Lyra settle into the apartment. He adjusted the temperature, the lights, and even the small furniture to accommodate her alien physiology. She watched everything carefully, learning, observing, and occasionally touching objects with fascination. Ethan smiled at her wonder. It reminded him how extraordinary the universe could be when one took the time to see it. As night fell, Ethan stepped to the balcony again, looking out over the docks. The lights reflected on the water like countless tiny stars, and he felt a strange sense of hope. Lyra came beside him, silent but present. He didn't need words. Her presence alone was enough. But even in this quiet moment, Ethan knew their life together would not be simple. The galaxy was vast, full of other beings and unknown dangers. Lyra's past might catch up with her, and the colony, curious as always, would ask questions. Yet for the first time in his life, Ethan felt ready. He wasn't just a lonely man anymore. He had someone who trusted him, someone who needed him, and maybe, in return, she could teach him what it meant to truly live. As they stood together on the balcony, the distant hum of the spaceport blending with the soft waves, Ethan felt a spark of excitement. The universe was waiting, and he and Lyra would face it together. The morning sun spilled golden light across the docks of Aurora Prime. Ethan woke to the soft hum of the spaceport, the distant roar of ships taking off, and the gentle splashing of the ocean against the piers. He stretched and glanced at Lyra, who was already awake. She sat near the window, watching the colony below with quiet fascination. Lyra's movements were elegant, deliberate, as though every motion was part of a careful study. She tilted her head toward a shuttle preparing for departure, then back at Ethan. A small vibration resonated in his mind, a greeting, or perhaps a question. "Good morning, Lyra," Ethan said, smiling. "Sleep well." Her eyes blinked slowly. She extended her hand and traced the sunlight on the table with her fingers, almost like a painter feeling her colors. Ethan took the gesture as a yes. It was their first real morning together. The previous night had been full of tension, relief, and wonder. Now, the quiet of the new day allowed them both to relax, just a little. Ethan had set up the apartment with simple comforts that she could use. A water pool for her hands, light panels that changed color according to her preference, and a small platform that adjusted to her height. It wasn't much, but he had tried. Lyra tilted her head at the platform and placed one foot on it. The surface shimmered faintly, sensing her weight. She moved smoothly, then looked at Ethan, her eyes reflecting gratitude. Ethan smiled. Humans often learned by trial and error. It seemed aliens did too, only with far more precision. "Let's start with something simple today," Ethan said. I'll show you the colony and you can see how humans live." Lyra's large eyes widened slightly, the faint hum of curiosity echoing in his mind. She seemed eager yet cautious. Ethan understood it was a big world to learn at once. They stepped outside, the city alive with activity. Humans, aliens, and hybrid colonies moved through the streets. Vendors called out offers in multiple languages. Hovercraft whizzed overhead. The air smelled of salt, engine fuel, and warm baked goods from a nearby cafe. Ethan guided Lyra carefully. "Look," he said, pointing to a market stall. "Humans trade, sell, and share things. Food, clothing, tools, things that make life easier." Lyra leaned closer, examining the items. She touched a loaf of bread, then gasped slightly when it squished under her delicate fingers. Ethan laughed softly. "Not everything is soft or fragile, but it's safe." As they walked, Ethan explained basic human customs, greetings, dining habits, work schedules, and the importance of community. Lyra listened intently, absorbing every detail, her mind racing faster than his speech. "You are very adaptable," Ethan said. "Even in one day, you've learned more than most humans would in a week." A vibration in her mind seemed like a smile. She nodded, then looked at the dock in the distance. Something about it seemed to trouble her. Ethan noticed and followed her gaze. "Is it your past?" he asked gently. Lyra's eyes darkened slightly. She stepped back, then back toward him. It was clear she had memories of another life, a previous engagement, perhaps someone she had expected to meet. Ethan could sense hesitation and caution. Before he could ask more, a commotion arose near the docks. Several figures approached, moving quickly through the crowd. Humans scattered and vendors shouted warnings. Ethan's heart sank. "Stay here," he whispered, though he had no idea what was coming. The figures were humanoid but clearly not human. Their uniforms gleamed and one carried a symbol that Lyra immediately recognized. Her body tensed. Her glow dimmed slightly, a sign of unease. Ethan stepped forward. "Who are you?" he demanded, trying to sound confident. The lead alien, tall and imposing, stopped a few meters away. "Lyra," he said, his voice deep and commanding, "you belong to me, come with us." Lyra froze, then stepped behind Ethan instinctively. Her hand brushed against his arm, and he felt a sudden surge of protective resolve. Ethan's mind raced. This was her abandoned betrothed, the one who had left her at the docks, but he would not allow her to be taken without a fight. He didn't need weapons. Humans had a different kind of strength, creativity, resourcefulness, and courage. "Lyra is under my protection now," Ethan said firmly. "You cannot take her." The alien laughed, a low, menacing sound. "You are human, fragile, she will obey her destiny." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Destiny isn't forced, she chooses, and she chooses to stay." The alien hesitated, underestimating Ethan. Humans were often judged by appearances, weak, small, limited. But Ethan had spent his life solving problems calmly and quickly. He scanned the area, noting the environment, crates, cables, a water canal nearby, and maintenance panels that controlled dock systems. He made a quick decision. "Lyra, trust me." Lyra nodded slightly. She had already learned that humans could be surprisingly clever, and she sensed his plan would rely more on brains than brawn. Ethan moved quickly, pressing buttons on a nearby control panel. Alarms sounded, lights flickered, and water from the canal began filling the pathways. It wasn't dangerous, but it created a barrier, forcing the aliens to step carefully. Humans sometimes called it improvisation. Ethan called it survival. Lyra, moving gracefully, followed him as he guided them both through a series of narrow passages. She marveled at how humans could manipulate machines and environment without needing brute force. It was intelligence, ingenuity, and intuition all at once. Finally, they reached a safe chamber inside the dock's control center. Ethan sealed the doors and activated communication channels to colony authorities. The alien betrothed raged outside, but there was little he could do. The humans had set up protective barriers and protocols, and Ethan had used his knowledge of the dock systems to anticipate every move. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly with appreciation. She placed a hand on Ethan's arm, the hum in his mind resonating gratitude. Humans were fragile, yes, but they had resilience, creativity, and courage that even advanced aliens could respect. Hours passed. The authorities arrived and mediated the situation. Ethan explained the emergency marriage and the protective measures. The alien betrothed protested, claiming tradition and duty, but the officials ruled in favor of human laws. Lyra was safe, legally and physically. That night, Ethan and Lyra returned to his apartment. Both were exhausted, but there was a new sense of closeness between them. They had faced danger together and survived, not through force, but through ingenuity, trust, and mutual respect. Lyra touched the walls of the apartment, adjusting lights and panels, experimenting with her new environment. She was learning, adapting, and slowly accepting human ways. Ethan watched her, realizing that humanity's greatest strength wasn't muscles or weapons. It was heart, intellect, and the courage to stand for what was right. They ate a simple meal together. Ethan explained human food, showing her how to eat safely. Lyra laughed softly when she discovered flavors she had never imagined. She mimicked his gestures, learning quickly, and Ethan realized that this exchange of culture, this bridge between worlds, was something uniquely human. As the night deepened, they sat together on the balcony once more. The colony glowed below, lights shimmering like distant stars. Lyra rested her hand lightly on Ethan's. It was a simple gesture, but it carried trust, comfort, and curiosity. "Tomorrow," Ethan said softly, "we'll start learning more about each other. I'll teach you humans and you can teach me, well, everything about your world." Lyra tilted her head, a faint vibration echoing in his mind. It was agreement, excitement, and perhaps even hope. Ethan smiled. Life had changed. Loneliness was gone, replaced by connection, purpose, and the thrilling uncertainty of a universe full of possibilities. He had never imagined that a chance encounter at the dock could lead to this, but humans, he realized, always had the capacity to rise to the occasion. And as they gazed at the stars, Ethan knew this was just the beginning. Together, they would face the galaxy, learn its secrets, and discover the strength that lay within humanity itself. The morning sun rose slowly over Aurora Prime, painting the ocean docks in shades of gold and crimson. Ethan Corwin awoke to the hum of the spaceport and the faint, shimmering glow of Lyra's presence beside him. She had adapted remarkably quickly to human life, and each day brought new discoveries for both of them. "Good morning, Lyra," Ethan said softly, stretching. "Sleep well." She nodded, tilting her head, the subtle hum in his mind suggesting curiosity and anticipation. Today, however, a new tension lingered in the air. Ethan had sensed it during breakfast. Unusual activity in the spaceport, ships arriving earlier than scheduled, and a quiet sense of alert among the authorities. Something was coming. As they prepared to leave the apartment, Ethan's communicator beeped urgently. It was the colony security chief. "Ethan," the voice crackled, "you need to come to the Central Command immediately. Lyra's former betrothed is not the only one interested. A faction from her home system has been tracking her. They are demanding her return and they're armed and ready." Ethan's stomach tightened. He glanced at Lyra, who met his gaze with calm, focused eyes. She had faced danger before and trusted him to navigate it. "Let's go," Ethan said firmly. "We'll handle this together." The Central Command was a hive of activity. Security officers coordinated communications, monitored sensor data, and prepared defenses. Ethan and Lyra entered the room, and the chief briefed them on the situation. "They've brought a small fleet," he explained. "Mostly scouts and patrols, but they are well equipped. They want Lyra returned peacefully, but we cannot guarantee compliance if things escalate." Lyra's eyes narrowed. Her former betrothed stood at the edge of the holographic display. his expression angry and impatient. He underestimated humans. He assumed they would submit to alien authority. Ethan stepped forward. "We won't fight them with weapons," he said. "We'll use our brains, our skills, and our understanding. Violence isn't the only way to win." The chief raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan to do that?" Ethan smiled faintly. "We'll outthink them, trust me. Step 1. Understanding the enemy." Ethan and Lyra analyzed the incoming fleet using the dock's scanning arrays. They identified weaknesses in the formation, communication patterns, and docking maneuvers. While Lyra understood their technology better than most humans, Ethan's ingenuity lay in improvisation, quickly finding solutions that combined human devices with Lyra's alien systems. They devised a plan: lure the fleet into a controlled area near the dock, then disable their ship's engines using a clever manipulation of the docking energy grids. It would trap them without causing harm, forcing negotiation instead of battle. Lyra observed him working, fascinated. "Humans are clever," she whispered, her voice tinged with awe. Ethan grinned. "We have to be. We're small, fragile, but we can think fast. That's our strength." As the alien fleet approached, the plan unfolded. Ethan and Lyra coordinated with the dock's control systems, rerouting energy flows, activating magnetic fields, and creating holographic illusions to confuse the enemy. The aliens, accustomed to direct confrontation, struggled to adapt to the unexpected tactics. Lyra joined in, using her knowledge of alien technology to amplify Ethan's strategies. Together, human and alien worked as a team, a blend of intuition, creativity, and intelligence. Soon, the enemy ships found themselves trapped in carefully contained zones. Their engines were disabled, but no damage was done. Ethan and Lyra opened communications. "Release Lyra," Ethan said firmly. "She is not property. She is free to choose." The alien leader hesitated, then glanced at his fleet. He had underestimated the humans' cleverness. He realized that force would not work. The humans had outsmarted them, not with weapons, but with courage and intelligence. Finally, he relented. "She is your choice," he said reluctantly. Lyra stepped forward, her presence calm and dignified. "I choose to stay," she said, her voice clear. "I trust him." Ethan felt a surge of pride and relief. Humans were not the strongest physically, but their hearts and minds had earned respect even from advanced alien civilizations. With the immediate danger gone, Ethan and Lyra returned to the colony. The people who had doubted their emergency marriage now regarded them with admiration. Humans had protected one of the galaxy's most intelligent beings not through violence, but through ingenuity, compassion, and clever thinking. Lyra continued to learn human customs. She laughed at the small jokes, marveled at the art and music, and occasionally surprised Ethan by mastering skills in ways he had never imagined. Ethan, in turn, learned about her culture, her home system, and the subtle elegance of her species. Their bond deepened with each shared experience. One evening, as the twin moons of Aurora Prime rose over the ocean, Ethan and Lyra walked along the docks. The lights reflected on the water, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of salt and seaweed. "You have taught me a great deal," Lyra said softly, her fingers brushing his. "About humans, about courage, about choice." Ethan smiled. "And you've taught me that there's more to life than routine. That connection, trust, and understanding can change everything." They paused at the edge of the pier. A small shuttle passed overhead, carrying explorers to distant systems. Ethan watched it, then looked at Lyra. "There's so much out there. We can go anywhere, see anything. Together." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly with excitement. "I would like that." Days turned into weeks. Ethan and Lyra explored the colony, learning, laughing, and growing together. The authorities gradually trusted them, and the alien factions learned to respect human cleverness. The story of a human protecting an alien bride spread across the galaxy, a tale of ingenuity and heart. One day, as they prepared for a journey beyond the colony, Lyra paused. Ethan, I have seen many beings, but humans, you are remarkable. You are small and fragile, but your minds, your hearts, they are mighty. Ethan laughed softly. We get by, we have to, but it's nice to be noticed. Lyra smiled, touching his hand gently. I am honored to be by your side. Their first journey beyond Aurora Prime was filled with wonder. Stars stretched across the sky like endless rivers of light. Planets of all colors and sizes appeared on their sensors. Lyra's knowledge of interstellar navigation combined with Ethan's ingenuity allowed them to explore safely and efficiently. Along the way, they encountered other species, some curious, some cautious. Each interaction became an opportunity to showcase humanity's strengths, clever thinking, empathy, and resilience. Ethan and Lyra became ambassadors, not with force, but with trust and intelligence. One evening, as they rested on the observation deck of their small ship, Ethan turned to Lyra. Do you remember the docks the first day we met? Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the stars. I was frightened. I thought I would be alone, but you changed everything. You showed me what it means to trust, to hope, to be safe. Ethan reached out, holding her hand. And you showed me what it means to care deeply, to protect someone beyond myself. We make each other stronger. They sat in silence, watching the universe unfold before them. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but together they could face anything. Back on Aurora Prime, the story of Ethan and Lyra became legend. Humans were praised not for brute strength, but for courage, intelligence, and heart. Other colonies began to look at humanity with respect, realizing that even ordinary humans could achieve extraordinary things when driven by love, compassion, and ingenuity. Lyra's former betrothed returned to his system, humbled. He had learned that human beings were not to be underestimated, that their resilience and cleverness could surpass expectations. Ethan and Lyra continued to explore, their bond unbroken. Each day brought new adventures, new lessons, and new opportunities to show that humans could rise to challenges with creativity and compassion. The lonely man who once watched ships from a quiet pier had found his purpose, his partner, and his place in the universe. Together they would journey to the stars, proving that humanity, though small and fragile, was capable of greatness beyond imagination. A lonely man meets an abandoned alien bride at the dock and marries her instantly. HFY Reddit.